Hello guys, Dan here from Dan's Tech, and in today's video guys I'm going to be bringing you the £600 gaming PC. Now this build, since we are, we have, finally moved up to kind of the high-end builds, all builds from now on will contain SSDs, and that, from now on you can expect to play any game you want to at 1080p with, many games running at high or ultra at 60 FPS. So for this build we're going to be grabbing an Intel Core i5-4460, it's a quad-core 3.2 GHz processor, and for the GPU, an MSI variant of the R9 380. That's a 2GB video card, around £180 I believe, and yeah, that card is quite high end, and we'll be giving you some very good frame rates in video games. So say Fallout 4 for example, you can expect to play that for around 60 FPS at the high preset. I personally am still running a GTX 770, and this thing's able to average out about 60 70 FPS at high at 1080p. So it's pretty damn good, and that just kind of rough comparison, they're around the same, a GTX 770 and a 380, so I'll keep that there. Anyway, I'm rambling, let's kind of get on to the build, and let me guys show you what I've chose for the £600 gaming PC. So to get started, for the processor we're going to be grabbing the Intel Core i5-4460. This is a 3.2 GHz processor with a turbo frequency of 3.4 GHz. Now the processor itself is a true quad core, and it has 6 MB of Intel Smart Cache. Overall this is a pretty powerful processor, and the maximum TDP is 84 watts, so it should run pretty damn cool. Now onto the motherboard, we're grabbing the MSI Z97 PCMate motherboard. This is a motherboard sporting the Z97 Express chipset, hence the name. So we're going to be having some pretty rich features like RAID and having loads of SATA 6GB ports. Now just to start off, we do have support for 4th and 5th gen Intel Core processors on the LG1150 socket, and as well as this we do have 4 DDR3 DIMM sockets which support us up to 32GB of RAM all the way up to 3000 MHz, and this does support dual channel memory and also the Intel XMP. Now onto the expansion slots, that has 2 PCI Express x16 slots, which also does support AMD Crossfire technology, and as well as this we have 2 PCI Express x1 slots and also 2 PCI slots for legacy cards. Now onto the SATA connectivity, we have 6 SATA 3 6GB ports which all do support RAID 0, 1, 5 and 10. So for this build, we are choosing an SSD, and this is one of the reasons I have actually chose this board, because we do have native ports to support the SSD, and just to make sure that it can really perform at its best, because SSDs do need a 6GB port, and will be seriously underperforming on a 3GB per second port. Now as for the USBs, this motherboard has 4 USB 3 ports and also 8 USB 2 ports. In terms of the USB 3 ports, 2 are on the back and 2 are available through the internal USB headers. And as for the USB 2 ports, 4 are on the back and 4 are available via 2 internal USB headers. Now as for the RAM, we're going to be grabbing some Kingston HyperX 3 memory. Yet again, we're grabbing this forever cheap 8GB blue memory module running at 1866 MHz. This is under £30, and to be honest, it's a complete bargain. 8GB, 1866 MHz, and cast latency of 10. Really, really cheap, and a lot of people are happy with this memory, so that's exactly why we're going to be grabbing it. Now as for storage for this build, we are going with 2 options. We are grabbing a hard drive and also an SSD. Now as for the SSD, we're picking up the Crucial BX100. It's a 250GB 2.5-inch internal drive, and to be honest, this is pretty damn cheap. It isn't the fastest drive out there, but that's why it's cheap. The read speeds are over 500 megabytes at 535 megabytes per second, and the write speed is 370 megabytes per second. The write isn't the fastest, but I suppose what Crucial wanted to do with this BX100 drive is to give you a really cheap drive which has very good read speeds, because at the end of the day that is what matters when loading up games and say your operating system. Now as for the hard drive, we're just going to be grabbing a 1TB generic drive, 64 megabytes of cache, 7200 RPM, and has the SATA 6GB interface. There we are, just a 1TB drive for your games once you fill up your SSD. As for the graphic card, we're going to be grabbing the MSI Radeon R9 380 Gaming 2G. Now this card is slightly faster than the Nvidia GTX 960, and with 1792 cores running at 1000 MHz, this is a pretty damn good card for the money. Now the card itself has 2GB of GDDR5 memory via a 256-bit bus. One thing I do want to mention is that if you can grab the 4GB variant of this card, it'll be a little bit better. Not saying that there's a real need to grab a 4GB card at the current moment. I am personally still running a GTX 770 with 2 gig, and that's completely fine. I can still get over playing Fallout 4 at Ultra, but just for future, future games and stuff like that, it will be good to grab the 4 gig card. And to be honest, that might still get you within the budget, because this build does come up to about £580, something like that. Anyhow, carrying on, this card does come with two 90mm fans to keep the card cool, and as for the outputs, it has a DisplayPort, HDMI, DVI-I, and also DVI-D connectors, to plug into your monitor. Now, as for the power consumption, this card does consume 190 watts under full load, and therefore does require two 6-pin PCI Express power connectors, of which the power supply we are choosing does have, so don't worry about that. Now, as for the case, we're going to be grabbing the Corsair Carbide 200R. This is a compact ATX case, and as again I'll mention it, as Corsair put on their website, it says that this is a case for easy builds, and from me looking at this case, inside it has a very good internal layout, and as mentioned in the other PC builds where I've chosen this case, it can support up to 4 hard drives and 4 SSDs at the same time. That's completely, that is just fantastic at the price point. And you're not paying a lot for this case, and to be honest, for it to have that support for drives, that's brilliant. Now, the case itself supports up to 300mm long graphics cards, with room all the way up to 430mm cards with the hard drive cages removed. Now, I strongly believe that no graphic cards surpass even 400mm, but nevertheless, it's very good to have that support. Now, as for CPU coolers, even though we aren't choosing one for this build, in terms of future upgradability, this case can support CPU coolers all the way up to 16 centimeters in height, and the case in general can support up to 8 fans, which is absolutely genius depending on what hard drive configurations you do go with. Now, lastly, as for the power supply, we're going to be grabbing the Corsair CX600. 600 watts of very nice clean power. This power supply, it is rated at 80 plus bronze, and it does have all sleeved cables, which is very nice to have. As for the fan, it has an 120mm fan to keep it cool, and as for connectors, you have 4-pin peripheral connectors, you have 2 PCI connectors, all of which are 8 pins, and then you do have 6 SATA connectors for hard drives and also SSDs. Anyhow, they're all the parts for the build. Let's kind of conclude on this build as a whole. So there we are, there are all the parts for the £600 gaming PC. This PC is pretty damn high end. We're getting a quite expensive graphic card for this build, and it will work very, very well with the i5 we are choosing. As mentioned, you do get that SSD, which is very nice. Be able to load into your operating system very fast, and chances are you can put a few games on that SSD before it does fill up. So there we are, the build is pretty damn nice. Be able to play games like Fallout 4, Battlefield 4, at high ultra quality. It's a very nice PC, very, very balanced, and somewhat tuned for gaming. So yes, you get a very nice PC here. As always, guys, all links for all the parts will be in the description. I'll have Amazon US and also UK links, and apart from that, that's about it. If you guys want to check out any of the other gaming PC builds for late 2015, there'll be a playlist in the description also, and there'll be 2 at the end for a more expensive and a lower end one. There we are. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Goodbye.